Buddhism Core Episode 3. Today, July 14th, 2020. Today will be a Dharma show in the matter of the mind. The mind is the Dharma. The Dharma is the mind. The mind is just a hypothetical language that talks about a nature that already exists. Pure all the time, perfect all the time. This nature has never been good or bad, no merit, no sin. Nothing resides in this nature. Metaphor like emptiness. The emptiness here doesn't mean empty with nothing. The word emptiness here is a hypothetical language to refer to the nature that already exists, already complete, already perfect. There is no language can describe this nature because the mind is the nature that is freed from the assumption. The mind is liberated from everything. The mind is vimut. Vimut means freedom from the thought. The thought is a natural phenomenon that arises from the mind. Mind is Dharma. Dharma is mind. Whoever sees the Dharma, he sees me. Tathakot means whoever sees the mind, whoever understands the natural knower is the mind. The natural knower is Vimut. Vimut is liberty out of hypothesis and no assumption. The natural knower, no one owns it, is perfect all the time, can't explain, can't speak in any language. The natural knower is vimut, that it is free from hypothesis. It is liberty. The one who has access to the enlightenment is known as the one who sees the Dharma, who sees the Buddha. His mind is already a noble person. His mind has become an arahant. Therefore, whoever sees Dharma, he sees me. Tathakot means my mind. When we practice the Dharma or the mind and understand the mind, knowing that natural knower is the end of suffering, whoever knows the natural knower is the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. His mind has been the Sangha already. It does not matter whether the person is a woman or a man or a child or an old man. It's good to be in the secular sex. It's good to be in the sex of the monks. It's not about animals, people or beings. That mind is now called a Sangha. Being in any gender, already known as a monk. Therefore, Dharma practice we should focus on the mind, should not be practiced to focus outside the mind. Dharma exists in the mind, not in the textbook, not in anyone's words at all. The Lord Buddha taught humans. The Lord Buddha borrowed a human language to teach humans. The Lord Buddha spoke to show the way for human to know and see their own minds. Our mind is that nature, that our mind is vimut, that means liberation. The mind is nirvana, is Dharma, is arahant, is completely natural, but passed on all the time. But because avijja means not knowing or ignorance, vijja means knowing, means not, Avijja means not knowing or ignorance. Who doesn't know is the natural knower, or we call the mind. He didn't know that he was already pure and perfect because he has no wisdom. He didn't know that he was Prabhasan, pure all the time. This mind is nirvana all the time. But the natural knower, or what we call the mind didn't even know that he was already pure and perfect. Therefore, avijja directed him to flow with Citta Sankhan, or what we call Citta Sankhan is the thoughts or a thinker, flowing with the action of the mind, which the manipulated mind does not actually exist. It's just the behavior of the mind. Mind is the natural knower. The action of the mind is Citta Sankhan. Citta Sankhan is mental action called thoughts or a thinker. Like water is like the mind. The waves of the water are just the action of water. Citta Sankhan is the same. Citta Sankhan is the natural action of the mind. The mind continually manipulates Citta Sankhan, which no one owns Citta Sankhan, and no real existence of Citta Sankhan. Citta Sankhan is concocting all the time. So Citta Sankhan directs the natural knower or Puru or Tatru that we call the mind to concoct it. Our stories are created through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, deep into the heart and savour the emotion that is created. Created satisfaction emotion and dissatisfaction emotion. When the desire is fulfilled, he soars to want more soaring, want to go up endlessly. Seeing that thing called money. Money is useful like this, money is useful like that. I must have money. When you can find it, you want more. When you use the money to create your desire, you want to earn a lot of money so that you can use this money to create even more fulfillment. But the more money you get, suffering increase accordingly. The more you want to be happy, suffering increase accordingly. Therefore, happiness and suffering belong together. The parable is like the more we seek, the more we have to be more confused. There is competition, rivalry, and taking advantage of each other. This trait, anger, resentment, and struggling all the time is called suffering. But when we get more money, happiness arises accordingly because of the fulfillment that happiness had come. But before happiness had come, there was suffering appearing along the way. When the money comes, we go buy happiness. When we have enjoyed happiness, that happiness is not long with us. Happiness is gone. We must find new money through hardships and struggles of the mind that we call suffering. When money comes, we give the value that money has arrived already. Then we take the money and buy the desire. When the desire has been bought already, we get happiness for a while and then happiness goes away. We must be suffering to get more money. All of which is the ambition of this manipulative mind that creates all the stories, switch happiness and sorrow back and forth. Happiness is temporary and then disappears. Sorrow is temporary and then disappears. Then passive, then happiness, then suffering, then passive, then happiness, and then suffering, then passive again and again. Then greed and become anger are caused by unwillingness. Then there is greed, desire, and sorrowing. The dissatisfaction increased accordingly. The greater the desire, the more anger and dissatisfaction arise. The analogy is like we are in love with someone. While we are in love, we love each other, almost exchanging our lives. But when we hate each other, we hate each other, almost exchanging our lives as well. Love and hate go hand in hand, like happiness and sorrow belong together. When there is happiness, there is suffering. Where will there be happiness without suffering? When there is suffering, happiness arises. They are bound together. If there is no happiness, where will there be suffering? When there is a left, there is a right. If there wasn't a right, where did a left come from? When there is a real, there is a fake. When there is a fake, there is a real. These are citta sankhara, the manipulated thoughts that we create for ourselves. It is natural that our mind has been manipulated like this according to the promise we have learned since birth. It is a fictional language that has been cultivated in human society. In that country, in that society, we are lost in the thoughts that we have created ourselves. We want happiness. The more we want, the more we suffer. Have we noticed that from birth until the present, have we been only happy all the time? From birth until we grow up to be young, teenager, mature, and old. We are happy for a while and then disappear. We are suffering for a while and then disappear too. Happiness for a while and then go away. Suffering for a while and then go away too. We are like this being again and again. The nature of citta sankhara is to be like this. They are like and dislike. When you like it, you are satisfied. When you don't like it, you are unsatisfied. Satisfied and unsatisfied is the nature of citta sankhara. No one owns citta sankhara. Happiness and suffering, or charity and sin, are citta sankhara together. This tape is speaking. I said only one person. I didn't speak to anyone. I tried to record the sound. I will try to speak every 15 minutes per set. This is already 15 minutes and that's enough for now. Just listen to the next row. Next, this tape is the second tape of the 14th day. Listen softly and listen comfortably. Be willing to listen carefully. I speak from the mind. Please use your mind to listen to this Dharma. I hope that you will bring your mind to listen to this Dharma too. Don't just use your ears and your brain to think, because that's why we don't remember or don't understand. That's why we continually improve. It doesn't reach the mind. Therefore, please bow down to the mind. Use the mind to listen carefully. When we understand the mind, when we see the work of the mind, it is called seeing Dharma. It is how we will know the Dharma, see the Dharma, understand the Dharma. Knowing why does the mind arise, why does the mind not arise, how to attain enlightenment. How am I not born? We will see by ourselves, know by ourselves, be the individual. Only practitioners know individually. The Lord Buddha had practiced for Asongkhai, 100,000 Mahakap, in order to come to know in his own mind that mind is Dharma. Very long time. The Lord Buddha had been searching for and cultivating for a long time in order to build up the prestige, in order to attain enlightenment by himself, to help humans get out of the cycle of birth and death, follow him as much as possible. After he was born as a human, learned everything in the human world, gained the understanding that everything was not yet the end of suffering. There is something more. The Lord Buddha had sought the Dharma until he attained enlightenment by himself. The Lord Buddha saw his own mind. The Lord Buddha informed in his own mind that the cause of rebirth is due to the fact that all beings are not awake inside the mind, because all the beings send their minds outside all the time. When all beings have the arahants, or the knower who understand in the Dharma, comes and teaches, Arahant points out that the mind is the Dharma. You should not send the mind outside. You should awaken within the mind, into the mind. When you awake within the mind, into the mind, you will see the mind is Dharma. Now the mind is wandering in rebirth, because your mind is flowing in Citta Sankhan. Citta Sankhan, which is the behavior that the mind is constantly manipulating all the time. When you see that the mind is continually manipulating all the time, creating a world, creating a life, creating a samsara or rebirth all the time. Seeing that Citta Sankhan is suffering, Citta Sankhan is the action of the mind, Citta Sankhan is natural manipulation. No one owns Citta Sankhan. When seeing Citta Sankhan like this, that is what is known as having eyes to see Dharma. Having eyes to see Dharma, that there are two types of mind. The mind that was mentioned above is the element of knowledge, or we call Thatru. The mind is natural, aware, and has only one function, namely knowing. Inexplicable, in fictitious language, it can only be said that the metaphor is natural knowing. The metaphor is emptiness. Emptiness from manipulation. No enhancements live in this nature. This emptiness is like the emptiness in space. Citta Sankhan is the action of the mind. Citta Sankhan dwells in emptiness like the wind dwells in emptiness. Darkness dwells in emptiness. The light lives in the emptiness. The stars live in the void. All solar systems live in emptiness. Every energy wave resides in emptiness, etc. All of these things are changing and changing. There is a warp and there is a fading away all the time, but the emptiness still is emptiness space like that. Even throwing a nuclear bomb into the void or into the emptiness, a nuclear bomb expelled energy and dissipated a huge amount of light spread out. No matter how severe or hurt the vacant nature or the emptiness was still the vacant nature. They are still the emptiness as the same. The metaphor of the mind is the nature of knowing, pure and perfect all the time. Nothing lives in this nature at all. But don't take it, don't assume is what I say, because it's just a fictional language for using to talk to humans. It's just Citta Sankhan from me to you. Yes, something like that. Humans heard and understood because the human world has to rely on this hypothetical language to talk to each other to understand. Like I am speaking English to you right now. The speaker thinks and speaks so that we can understand. The listener, when you hear it, thought accordingly and then think accordingly to understanding. When we think, we understand that understand is the thought called Citta Sankhan. Everything is Citta Sankhan. You have to know this truth all the time, right? It is an understanding that occurs naturally. Where is that understanding? How do you understand? Does that understanding have a face shape? Where do you keep that understanding? Let's consider together. Yes, this knowledge, when we hear it, is like the wind rushing through the system. Then the system records that how's the wind, how's that, but actually the wind that goes through our system, the wind doesn't actually exist. Understanding doesn't actually exist too. Where do you keep it? It's not stored anywhere. It's like the knowledge that we are listening to, we are understanding to. Knowledge is kept in the emptiness, like everything that the planet, all things, the stars, the sun, the solar system, all of them live in emptiness together. When it changes, it resides in that emptiness. Like that, our minds are like that. Try to understand the mind. The reason why we come to study the Dharma is to know that actually everything that we understand is not there. It's not at all as we understand it. It's like we are dreaming right now. In that dream, they are us, they are friends, our parents, our children, our grandchildren, our husband or our wife, cars and house. Everything is like a dream. We have everything. We also have a normal feeling in our dreams. There is a touching. You feel it seriously, like a dream. When we fight, we slash each other with knives. We feel pain. We hurt. See a doctor to heal. Some heal, some do not heal. Is a real story that really happened in a dream. But one day when we wake up from this dream, we will know, oh, it's all just a dream. It doesn't really exist at all. Our minds are like this. In fact, we are the mind. We don't really exist. Chitta Sankhan concoct the value. This is our body. This is our mind. This is our wife. This is our husband. This is our son. This is our daughter. This is our parents. This is our home. This is our car. This is our world. This is our country. This is a coconut tree. This is grass, etc. Chitta Sankhan concocts the value through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body to create feeling and thoughts. It is emotional manipulation that arises in the mind. It is the feeling of likes and dislikes and then clinging to what is known, value what is known to be what is this. Indeed, all things that are known are all things. All things is nothing, but because Chitta Sankhan gives the promised value that I remembered. This is the car, this is the house, this is the soil, this is the grass, this is the birds, this is the cow, this is the horse. Values what is recognized as that. Value as having such properties like this. It is all Chitta Sankhan, has no form, no physical body, doesn't exist, no real self, but is only what is known. Or we call in Thai สิ่งถูกรู้ In fact, the mind is a natural number called ธาตุรู้ It is an empty nature, pure, perfect, and flawless. ธาตุรู้ is unexplained in any language, but must be spoken for us to understand in a language. ธาตุรู้ is inexplicable in fictitious language. Chitta Sankhan is the phenomenon or the action of Thát Ru. Chitta Sankhan lives with Thát Ru. Another analogy is like water and waves. Mind is water. The nature of water has waves. Waves are the behavior of water. Wave is a symptom of water existing with water. Wave and water are inseparable from each other. So our minds like water. Chitta Sankhan is like a wave. A wave is a behavior of the mind. Natural flavor. It exists all the time, just like the water in the sea with constant waves. Whether the wave is high or low, the wave is subtle, the wave is frequent, and the wave is far away. So Chitta Sankhan concocts the mind to be happy, sad, angry, irritated, indifferent, and Chitta Sankhan concocts the mind, so ways thinking and talking. Such a metaphor can be understood easily. I will speak as comfortably as possible. Talk about why. When this is my body, this is my mind. I feel and I see my body, this is my mind. My mind resides in the chest, this is my body. I can touch my body. Everyone understand and believe like this. The Buddha said that the five aggregates, or in Thai we call khanha, are anatta. It means body and mind. The five aggregates are concrete and abstract. Simply put, we understand that it is body and mind. The Buddha said that the body and the mind are anatta. Anatta is not anatta is not atta. Atta is the ego. The ego is ourself. Anatta is non-self, not us, not ours. The Buddha said that this body and mind are no have. No have, that means it's really no have. The word have and the word no have. Hearing that, we are puzzled. The word have and the word no have is citta sankara. This is a refined idea. This is a language that assumes, that means there is and there is not. The word have and the word no have do not really exist. You must understand. The word having, the word being, the word not having, the word not being, all of this is really non-existence. Say it one more time. The word having and the word being in the Dharma language is called Bhava Tanha. The word not being and the word not being in the Dharma language is called Vibhava Tanha. Both Bhava Tanha and Vibhava Tanha are anatta, as the same thing. All of them are anatta, meaning that the word having, the word being, the word not having, the word not being means all of them do not actually exist at all. It doesn't have a real existence. It's just a language. It's just citta sankara. It's just a thought and a speech. The words that are said here don't really exist. All the dhammas that are said here are just sankhara dhammas, or we call in Thai sankhara tham. It's just an idea that coming up with and creating in the hopes of speaking for us to understand, because samsara needs to rely on citta sankara to interact and understand. In Thailand, we use the Thai language, use the assumptions to speak Thai to talk. The true Dharma is the mind. The mind cannot speak. The mind is vimut. As for citta sankara, this is the action of the mind, concocting a hypothetical. In order to talk about vimut, you must understand this. Citta sankara creates this hypothetical language, and that is from the thoughts, from the ideas. We decorate saying it in this hypothetical language. Speak to understand what are you talking about. We are talking about the mind. Talking about Dharma is talking about the mind. Mind is Dharma. Dharma is mind. To show that the mind is an unspeakable nature. The mind is a rebirthing nature that is beyond the imagination that we call vimut. This hypothetical language must be used to talk about vimut in order for the human world to understand that nature is freed from birth and death. Practicing Dharma to become a noble person, to achieve enlightenment. The word enlightenment means to see that the mind is natural, knowing that it is nature, that is free from manipulation. As for the manipulations used to communicate and interact, these are just the actions of the mind. It is deceitful illusion, an illusion, a hypothetical illusion. It is only used in samsara. Try to understand the work of the mind, understanding the mind. We can understand what our mind is like. How does it work? Why do we cycle through birth and death? How do we see this body is not us, not ours? This mind is not our mind, not ours. Because the Lord Buddha said Body and mind are anatta, not us, not ours, and does not really exist. The point is here. So what do we do so that we can actually see this? Therefore, I have to explain the mind to us to understand that our existence does not really exist. It is only the mind that exists. It does exist without saying it exists. It is beyond language. There is no language to say that it really exists. That is, there is no language to speak like this. But when we live in a hypothetical world, we have to talk to each other that it really exists, but can't hold on to it. Because now I am using the language to speak and take the thoughts that I am thinking right now. I am using Citta Sankhan, that it is concocted in this language, so that we can understand that our mind is only an element of knowledge, or we call That Ru. It cannot speak. It is beyond hypothesis. If you can't understand, it's okay. Listen often and talk later. Long P will continue to talk about the work steps of the Citta Sankhan until we see that the Citta Sankhan was a deceitful illusion. It is a non-existent nature. If we can understand Citta Sankhan, we will be able to understand the natural knower, which is called Nirvana, which is called Tatu, which is called Dhammatat or Sunyata, or the first mind, or the original mind, etc. Up to the teachers. These names are the language used by many teachers. The Lord Buddha called Nirvana, Tan Buddha Tat called Sunyata, Luang Ta Mahabua is called Dhammatat. All names show that it has no real name of it. Long P call is Tatu because it shows only symptoms that we can understand for us. To manifest is to know all the time. This mind knows all the time. When we put a toothpick at the tip of our toe, we know that we feel it. It doesn't feel in the toes. When we put the stick on the shin, we feel that it's Tatu, that's the mind. It doesn't feel in the shin, it doesn't have the shin, but this tells us that if we hit the shin with a stick, we will feel. This is spoken language for us to understand, but that feeling, it knows that it is knowing to know something. It just this, and it ends here. The mind is only Tatu. He only has a duty to know only. Knowing that and knowing like that, like that, like that. It doesn't mean anything. No name. พระอัญญาโกณทัญญา after listening to the teachings of the Lord Buddha, พระอัญญาโกณทัญญา realized that something happens naturally, that would naturally be extinguished. He didn't say what he knew. That thing has no name. It's just some symptom, some phenomenon which he knew. He knows that it happened normally and then went off normally according to its cause and its factors. He only knew this. He only knew what is known, that such symptoms or phenomenon are like that. It's just one thing. Just for this reason, the Lord Buddha exclaimed with great enthusiasm that Anya Gontanya already knows. Anya Gontanya already knows. The Lord Buddha was very happy. Then this is not talking about the mind, because Anya Gontanya knows that what is known is that which the mind has been manipulated. It's just what's been known. It doesn't have a name. But if I am going to say it, it's called feel on the shin. I feel that there is a stick hitting on the shin. If the stick hits the shin hard, the shin hurts. This is a language to value that there is a shin, there is a stick to hit and feel pain. This is a language for us to understand for each other. Actually, it's just knowing. Well, knowing that is knowing something. Knowing something that is just what is known. Something is a condition that arises according to the cause, and when all the factors are eliminated, it disappears. There is an emergence, and extinction and a change. Now you know that it's just something to be known. It appears to be known. The mind is the only natural knower. The mind only has a duty to know. We are the mind. That the mind is Arahant. That mind is Nirvana. The mind does not die. The natural knower is the nature that does not die, free from hypothesis. It is already pure and it is always pure. Before all things, that is the natural knower or Tatru already. When did the mind exist? There is no beginning and no end. Before all things, the mind has already arrived. Time is born from the creation of thoughts. Before there was time, the mind had already existed. The beginning of the mind, it can't be found. Where did the mind come from? The mind was never born. It had already arrived. Before the world, before the universe, before all things, the mind is already here. Comparing like that. Just speak to listen. We try to understand our minds. Luang Pi will speak for us to understand that's all. We understand how the mind works, knowing that we are born and die because we are lost in Citta Sankkhara. By the power of ignorance or avisha, we can see, understand, and manifest. We will manifest in nature itself. We will understand profound to the end. Luang Pi is only a teller, just a pointer. Bring a hypothetical language to speak for the hypothetical world to understand. We were born in a fictional world, 3 realms of the element world, from evil to devas. They call the Kama, a world of Kama, and the Brahma, and Arupa Brahma. The Brahma means the Brahma with the form. Arupa Brahma means Brahma without form. Here are the 3 realms of the elemental world that we ride on Citta Sankkhara, circulating and being born and dying in Citta Sankkhara. The 3 realms of the world are Citta Sankkhara. Itself, it is Citta Sankkhara that creates hell, creates heaven, creates the Brahma world, even though the human world. Next, Luang Pi will talk about to focus on the mind, because usually we seek Dharma outside the mind, travel to find Dharma outside the mind. Some people even fly abroad, fly to India, to Nepal, to Sri Lanka to seek Dharma. Dharma doesn't exist anywhere else. Dharma exists in one's own mind, but the ignorance, or we call avisha, so we go searching Dharma outside the mind all the time. Like a fish. Listen carefully. Like a fish. It might sound a little funny, a little joke, but it's real. Okay, listen. The fish are in the water, but they cannot see the water. Fish swim to find water, and fish swim to the source of water. Fish ask another fish. We invite each other to find the water shade. If we meet upstream, we will find great water. We will have enough food to eat. Let's invite each other to find the source of the water together. Even though fish are in that water, but swimming to find water together, looking for water from birth to death, and in the end, fish could not find water. Fish searched for water until death, and fish still did not find water. Fish was miserable by seeking water. In fact, just fish realized that where fish live is water. For this reason, fish will know the truth that fish doesn't have to search for water. Fish just observe and know the truth that fish live in its water. When the fish know the truth, fish stop seeking water. Fish would have no more mission to do. When fish meet the truth, fish will be freed from happiness and sorrow. Metaphor like this. So are we. We seek Dharma together in hopes of liberation, in hopes of escaping from the cycle of birth and death. We are struggling to find Dharma. We flew to India to seek Dharma and then flew back. We are both happy and sad. Busy as usual. Then we heard the news that a teacher attended enlightenment. He is the Arahant there. We drove a car, took a car, traveled and flocked together in order to seek out the teacher or the Arahant who had heard the news that he had attained the enlightenment already, to pay respect to him. When we met the Arahant, we paid respect to him and we were happy and heart elation. The Arahant asked us where we came from, who are we? We want to ask the Dharma, but we didn't dare to ask because we were afraid that others would think we were stupid, we were fools. Even if some people dare to ask, we ask in a simple ways, easy question, how to practice Dharma, such as, grandfather, please give some advice to your grandchildren. Children will be able to practice the Dharma properly. Teachers will say that morality, concentration, and wisdom, rest, play, reside, putto, 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 all the time. After we listened to the answer from the Arahant, we said, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. We were happy at that moment. When we came back home, we didn't reside, putto, putto, putto. We forget the promise. We are busy with fun, hilarious stories, talking about things over and over, going there, here, busy with the work we have done, messy with baby, messy with his husband, busy with finding food and earning money. Finally, we think that we have to make marriage again and go to pay the respect to the Arahant again. This temple is good like this, good like that. And then we come back home and it's all messed up as usual. And then we run to find another Arahant in a new temple. This place is so good. This temple is peaceful. So good, so good. And we come back home and then comes to the hassle of earning money again. Competition, survive. Get lost in the fortune, rank, praise. Get lost in happiness, get lost in suffering, get nothing. Wherever you go is good like that, good like this. If it's very good, you must attain enlightenment, right? You must have eyes to see Dharma. But now we are still searching for the Dharma outside the mind as the same. Some people from childhood to the old age still cannot find the Dharma. They are still don't know how to know Dharma and see Dharma. How did the Lord Buddha teach? We worship the big trees, especially the big trees tiled with 3 colors of cloth. When we see the big tree, we are scared. Goosebumps. Our hands tremble. Our legs tremble. We heard every raise our hands to pay respect. Just a tree and a cloth of 3 colors to tie. We raise our hand quickly, so then when we come back home we have nothing to do. We pay respect to the car, we put incense sticks in front of the house and put some food and pay respect to the ghost. We say that our religion is Buddhism, but we respect the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha as refuges, but we worship ghosts, cars and trees. We all deceive ourselves all the time. No one can deceive us better than ourselves. What are we going to take? We are born being a human. Do you know how difficult it is to be born as a human being? The analogy is like throwing a needle into the sea. We don't know where to throw a needle into the sea. Then we swim down to find a needle into the sea. Think about how rare it is to find a needle. We cannot count the time. This is our birth as a human being. Not easy. When we were born as a human, we are crazy about money, rank, praise, happiness, and suffering. That is, When something comes up, I want it more and more and more, sorrowing, wanting, never ending. How can I take it to be mine? Whether it's right or wrong, I don't mind, I don't care. Take it for it first. This is sorrowing for money, and when we get a lot, we want to have rank. We want people to respect and want to be higher and higher rank. When our needs are responded to, we will want people to praise only. I do not want anyone to gossip about us, but we will get both praise, appreciation, and gossip together. Getting money and losing money. When you lost, you suffer. You want more and more. When we get it, we feel happy. When we lost it, we hurt. There is sorrow and happiness back and forth. Like heads and tails of a coin. After getting the rank, there is a deterioration from the rank. When we lose our ranks, we suffer, and when we gain the rank, we rejoice, we are happy, like heads and tails of a coin. Depending on whether we can turn heads or tails of a coin, when people praise us, appreciation on us, we are glad. When people complain or gossip about us, we are sad. It's a couple like heads and tails of a coin. Happiness and sorrow are the same. No? When you are happy for whatever reason, from whatever factors, you will want that happiness more and more. When there is a cause to deteriorate from happiness is suffering. There is a cause for suffering. We are suffering. We want to get out of suffering. We want to solve suffering. We want to end suffering. But no matter how you solve it, it can't be extinguished. It's even more miserable with the desire to drag it on, drag to happiness and sorrow. When I'm happy, I want it very much. When I'm sad, I want it not to be sad. All of them are craving like the heads and tails of a coin. We get the heads or the tails, one side of a coin. This is the obsession that we pick up a coin. In fact, we realize that we are picking up a coin and we are putting it back its original place on the floor. Only for this reason, we will be freed from suffering, freed from joy and sorrow. We will encounter a condition known as letting go, or we call in Thai ปล่อยวาง. Yes, we will encounter a condition known as the abandonment of ego or atta or ourself. Yes, the mind will be comfortable. It will be airy. It will be light. It will go beyond the word happiness even more. That is the goal or the target of Dharma. The Buddha taught us to enter the Dharma, approaching that feeling called beyond happiness and suffering is the feeling that arises from letting go, or we call ปล่อยวาง in Thai language, laying it down, giving up all attachment. But you shouldn't practice something to let it go. I say let it go because you can understand it easily. You will be sufficient. You will be calm and become a conscious person. Don't be greedy to be unconscious. Be conscious to wake up. This issue is just this. I'll tell you how to reach the breakout is to let go of everything. It doesn't let go as we understand it. It is letting go. Letting go means knowing the mind, seeing the mind, knowing that everything is an illusion created by Citta Sankhara. When we see the truth in the mind, we see the mind sees the mind, that where we come across a condition known as letting go, or we call ปล่อยวาง, a condition of being free from Citta Sankhara. The condition of attaining enlightenment happens when we see the mind practicing in peace, from keeping precepts and practicing meditation. These are practicing modesty, or we call samatha, samatha bhavana. Yes, these are still all causing us to run the cycle of birth and death in the samsara. But this wisdom is the one that will cut the birth and cut the death, the one that will lead the mind to be free from samsara. Wisdom is the ultimate virtue. We practice Dharma in order to have wisdom. We do not practice Dharma in order to have meditation. Brahma practice Dharma in order to gain meditation. The hermits practice Dharma to get meditation. Brahma and hermits end up being born as a Brahma and then go around the rebirth in samsara again as the same. But in this religion, Buddhism, the Buddha taught to have wisdom. Only wisdom can save us from the cycle of birth and death. So hold on to the main here well. Wisdom combines precepts and meditation all together. So let's focus on wisdom, don't focus on practicing modesty, or we call samatha bhavana. Next, the mind is the natural knowing. Only the mind exists. Besides the mind, everything is like a dream, is an illusion that doesn't exist. Therefore, whoever understands this will know that in reality, this body and mind are just illusions that are manipulated by the mind. The mind was made up by himself. Our stories are created to live in a fictional world, but we use our stories to live in a hypothetical world in order to practice the Dharma. Practicing the Dharma in order to escape from the hypothesis world. This issue is just this. The issue is just this. The analogy is like we are sleeping and dreaming. The Arahant who know the truth, who are awake and who see us sleeping and dreaming, the Arahant has a pity on us. So the Arahant entered our dreams and said to all of us, you know, all of us doesn't really exist. This is not really our body. This is not really our mind. We really did not feel this way. Not all stories are true. Children, wives, husband, father, mother, cars, house, and everything that say they belong to us is not all true. This world doesn't really exist. This universe is not real. Do you know? All of you are dreaming now. Everyone say, oh my God, hey, how am I dreaming? It really exists. I really feel. I can't really force my body. I really get money and really lost my money. I have that real mood, real happy, really sad. How do you say that everything doesn't exist? This is why the Arahant is very tired to pull us out of our dreams. Let you wake up to know the truth. Therefore, the grace of the Lord Buddha is something very great, and great. Nothing compares to the Lord Buddha's grace. The Lord Buddha is very tired with us. He travels and teaches us, reminds us. The Lord Buddha teaches us all the time, but we never believe him or listen to him all the time. Buddhism, we all have Buddhism on our ID cards, but we return to worship ghosts. We return to worship Naka. We worship wood. We return to pay respect to the termite mound, but we never pay homage to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Lord Buddha is in our minds. The Dharma is in the mind. The monks are in the mind. We never bow down, never worship, and never practice into our minds. This is ignorance, or we call avijja. This is the obsession that we never realized and never understood. Talking and almost crying. Buddha is so tired of us, but we don't pay attention. We do not desire. We give up. We are still crazy about money, place, happiness, and suffering, never ending and infinity. Our duty is to earn money. We believe like this. Every time we were born, we only come for money. slave to the money until almost paying homage to the money. Kill for money, love for money, hate each other because of money. Children kill their parents for money. Parents kill their children for money too. Husbands and wives kill each other for money. The whole society quarrels over money, killing each other for money. The war happening because of this money. Do you see human infatuation? Why don't you pay respect to the money? Put the money on our heads and pay respect to money every day. Money, money, help me peace. Money, money, help me peace. Yes, pay respect to money all the time. Even though money is just a hypothetical element that created by humans to use in daily life, but money has the power to cover our minds, cover our bodies, cover our world. Look at the money power. Even though we created money by ourselves, but we got lost with money, we crazy with money, which is a non-existent item. If it exists, if we die, it has to go with us, right? When we die, does the money go with us or not? A lot of wealth, when we die, does wealth go with us? Money and wealth will be with my children. You answer like this. Which I build for my children. Will money and wealth be still with your children? Are you sure? I am asking you. Oh, you answer. Money and wealth will be my grandchildren. I build for my grandchildren. Okay, I will ask you again. Do you think money and wealth will be with your grandchildren? Are you sure? Do you know? เจ้ากรรมนายเวร Those who were born around us are all เจ้ากรรมนายเวร How do you know that your children or your grandchildren were born to save your money? Are you sure that they were born to increase or decrease your money and your wealth? This is what I'm telling you. Don't take it as good or bad, or right or wrong. Just let our minds think about it. หลวงพี่ could only tell us that หลวงพี่ could only teach us to realize this human birth, what we were born for. In the caution of hell, we promised that we would never do evil, do sin again. We will not sin with anyone again. We are good people. We will be good people. We will make merit. We will pay homage to the Dharma. We will study to the Dharma in order to escape from this samsara. We promise every time that we have been in the hell, but when we are born as a human, we leave that promise. We leave the promise that we have done, we have made. Consequences of the leaving a promise, the result of not fulfilling the promise, that is, we must go into the cauldron of the hell. We have to go to the hell again and again, never ending, infinity. We are all born with only one goal, which is to study Dharma, to know the Dharma in order to get out of the cycle of birth and death. The issue is just this. It is not easy for a Buddha to be born into the human world. When the Lord Buddha was born, he had attained a perfect enlightenment and became fully enlightened. The people of the world should rush to him, hasten to listen to his Dharma, understand the Dharma that he said and taught. The Lord Buddha taught only about the mind, only taught about the mind. He didn't talk about anything else. What is the cause of the mind that runs the cycle of birth and death? What caused it? How to stop it? The truth is a mind is a person who births and death, and a mind is a person who is released from the cycle of birth and death, from the samsara. Lord Buddha pointed at the mind. The mind is the Dharma. The Dharma is the mind. Therefore, all that Luang Pi said today, Luang Pi wanted us to settle down into the mind. The wise man entered our dreams and told us this mind and body don't really exist. Mind, body, anatta. Anatta is a dream. We are dreaming. We must wake up from this dream. How to wake up from this dream is we are knowing, we are realizing, we are conscious. As often as you try to wake up until you really wake up from your dream, then you will see the truth that, oh, just a moment ago, I was actually dreaming. Oh, waking up from a dream is like this. Did we dream that we had children, a wife, a family, a house, a car, a father, a mother? All of them is a dream. When you understand the truth like this, you know that because of the fact that we don't know before, no one came to tell us, to point out that we must be aware, become aware of frequent. This is why we wake up from a dream. Therefore, awareness is the essence of Buddhism, the core of Dharma practice. This is the summary of today. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next episode. สวัสดีครับ